There are a lot of different wine regions out there, and there's a lot of different wines that are labeled by their region, so it can get a little bit confusing. By the end of this video, you should understand the big ones, the big players that we have here, and feel more confident about these styles of wine. Welcome back to another 5 Fact Friday, where we share 5 fun facts about a specific whiskey or wine topic, and hopefully you're going to learn something. Today we are talking about different wine regions and why they're important and why you should understand what these regions actually mean. Because, like I said, it's a little confusing. Let's just dive right in. Actually, before we do that, we need to understand one thing about these regions. So, in Europe, a lot of these wines are going to be labeled by their region. That's just what Europe does. That's like an old world style thing. But then when you move over to New World, so anywhere really outside of Europe, you're going to see the actual grape variety labeled on the wine. So this is going to be a little more important for those styles, the European styles, but it's still important for the New World. Okay, now let's go. First up, let's start with the big one that most of you guys are probably going to be familiar with, Napa Valley. Napa Valley, California, USA. Now, Napa is an interesting spot because it's the one everyone knows about. When you hear wine region, everyone goes, Napa. Or you just hear wine, you think, Napa. But why is that? It's not the oldest, but it is the most significant. There's a couple of reasons for its significance. First, it's going to be just really perfect for growing a lot of really good wine, obviously, because they produce some really good stuff. But as everyone was expanding west, the gold rush was happening, California was being settled. As people were getting out there, they realized that Napa Valley, how it was structured, the temperature, the climate, all of this was very similar to what they would have had back in Portugal, Spain, as well as some in France. So it kind of made sense where people were like, oh, hey, this is going to be a good spot to make some wine. But on top of that, the weather's perfect. It has these really warm days and has these cooler evenings, which is ideal for grape growing. And not just all that, but they also managed to beat out some French wines and some other European wines, proving that American wine, specifically Napa Valley wine, is good. This happened during the Judgment of Paris, where 2 of the wines that beat everything else out were from Napa Valley. So it makes sense that Napa is standing out head and shoulders above a lot of other regions. Outside of all of this, the big thing that you need to know here is going to be the type of flavors you're going to get when it comes to your Napa Valley wines. Typically, these are going to be very big, bold, juicy, fruit-forward wines. You're going to get a lot of tannins out of the reds, but it's going to be these bright, fresh fruits. So if you have a white wine, you're going to get a lot of these lemons. You're going to get a lot of these bright, citrus, almost tropical flavors. And then for your reds, you're going to get all of these big, bold, either like strawberries, raspberries, bold blackberry, cherry. Just these very big fruit flavors are going to hit you in the face for a lot of these wines, which can be good for some people, but can also be a little off-putting for someone who might be new to wine. So keep that in mind. That is going to be California, specifically Napa Valley. Let's move on and jump over the pond and check out Europe. First European area we're going to talk about is going to be Bordeaux, France. Now, Bordeaux is another big one that if you open up a wine menu and you're just scanning it, you're likely going to see something that just says Bordeaux. Or maybe you might even see Bordeaux blend or Bordeaux style, and it might be from somewhere else. So there's a lot that's really coming out of Bordeaux, and it is significant because it has influenced all of these other wine regions to make wine like Bordeaux and come up with these Bordeaux styles. But what is Bordeaux? Why is it all super significant and really interesting? Bordeaux is going to sit on the southwestern side of France, and it's going to have some reds and it's going to have some white styles. For the reds, again, these are all going to be blends. So you're going to see a lot of wines that are going to be blended with Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cab Franc, Malbec, Petit Verdot, and in some cases, Communard. These are going to be really big, full-bodied reds that are just going to be packed with flavor. And the flavor notes you're going to typically get are going to be things like blackcurrant, black cherry, graphite, and in some cases, tobacco even. For the white wines, you're going to see these labeled as Bordeaux Blanc, obviously meaning Bordeaux white. And for these, you're going to find different wines that are going to be blended with Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, Muscadel, Merlot Blanc, and some other white wines as well. The flavors are going to be things like grapefruit, gooseberry, lime, chamomile, and crushed rock, which is a really interesting thing to have crushed rock as a flavor, but once you taste it and you kind of get that earthiness out of there, it is going to come through. This is going to be the first area where we're going to see a very large difference in between the different regions within this region. So you're going to have just your Bordeaux. Now you can have Bordeaux and then you're going to have all of these other things that are going to come after it that are going to help you drill down and figure out, okay, this is from this village. Oh, it's from this specific vineyard or this specific chateau in Bordeaux. When you're able to label it with that much distinction to it, that typically means there were more strict rules that they had to follow in order to do that. Now, this doesn't always mean it's going to be better, but it does mean they had to follow more rules to put all of these specific labels on their bottle of wine. All right, who do we got next? Burgundy. Staying within France, let's talk about Burgundy or Bourgogne. And if I'm pronouncing that wrong, someone correct me down in the comments. This is going to be a place where you're going to find some of the oldest styles of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which kind of sound like an interesting combination, but it does make sense. These are both cool weather grapes, cooler area, it all works. Burgundy is going to be just south of Paris, and the wines that they are producing are going to vastly range in price. You're going to find some that are nice, cheap, affordable styles of wine, and then the wines you're going to find here are going to vastly differ in price. You're going to find some that are cheap, affordable, really good, and then there's some that you might have to take out a second mortgage to be able to afford because people just think that it's worth that much. I don't see it yet, but who knows, maybe. Moving on though, specifically talking about the different regions that you're gonna find in Burgundy. So if we're talking about Chardonnay, we're talking about Burgundy. If you're into wine, you might kind of figure out where we're going with this, but there's gonna be a sub-region within this place called Chablis. Chablis makes some world-class Chardonnay. This is all going to be unoaked Chardonnay if it just says Chablis on the label. So you see Chablis, this means unoaked Chardonnay from Chablis, which is in Burgundy, which is in France. These wines are going to be exceptionally good. There's going to be a lot of rigidity that they're going to have to go through to just put Chablis on there. And if they even, again, drill down further, they have to follow all these further rigorous rules. One of the things that makes this area really interesting is the ground that it actually sits on. There's going to be a lot of limestone in the ground, which is going to give this very zesty minerality to all of the wine. Now, it's not going to come through and just like punch you in the face with all this flavor, all this salinity, minerality, and zestiness, but it is going to be there, especially in the white wines coming out of Chablis. Now, for your red wines, these again are going to be Pinot Noir. Lighter style of red wine, so you're going to get these very fresh fruit flavors out of these as well. Typically, you're going to find things like red cherry, hibiscus, some earthy notes like mushroom, or even like dried leaves and just that very forest floor kind of notes to it, which is really fun in a Pinot Noir. And then for your white Burgundies, or your Chablis, your Chardonnays, this is where you're going to find, again, your full body white wine. And it's going to come through with a lot of notes of yellow apple, acacia blossom, honeydew, melon, vanilla, and hazelnut. All of these really rich notes are going to come through in their Chardonnays, which can be super fun. If you're someone who doesn't really like Chardonnay because you've been exposed and kind of burned to these super buttery Chardonnay, definitely try Chablis. It might make up for all of the trouble and pain that has caused you. I was one of those. I hated the super buttery Chardonnays. Chablis turned me back over to Chardonnay. So give it a shot. But that's going to be Burgundy. Let's go south, jump over the border, and we're going to be talking about Rioja in Spain. Rioja is going to be located in the northern central area of Spain, and it is going to be large, about 75 miles just spanning this northern area. And it is extremely diverse. You're going to get all these mountain ranges, or I should say mountain ranges, a lot of hills, a lot of valleys. So your vineyards are going to be on different sides. There's going to be different types of soil. And all of this is going to cause the grapes that are going to come out of here and the wines that are going to come out of here to vastly differ. However, to be Rioja, you are going to be mostly Tempranillo, which is one of my favorite styles of grapes. I love Tempranillos. They're fantastic. But these Tempranillos are usually going to be blended with something like Grenache to give it a little bit more of that body that it needs to stand up. Because without it, you're really going to get these basic flavors. Cherry, plum, dill, vanilla, and a little bit of leather. Very medium all around, not going to be anything too crazy, but you blend it with Grenache and you have this very nice, bigger bodied style of wine that also has all of these really nice, deep, rich flavors again. When you get that leather, tobacco kind of note coming through on the Tempranillo, it's perfect. Love it. Rioja is also going to be a warmer area, so you're again going to get these very warm weather styles of flavor, so these brighter flavors, more fruit-forward flavors are going to pop out of here. I'm a huge fan of Riojas because depending on where you go within Rioja, you're going to get a lot of different flavors, which can be super fun. All right, let's hit our last one. We're going to be jumping over to Italy. We are talking about Tuscany. Now, Tuscany is an interesting thing. So here in the US, if you go up to someone and go, oh, hey, do you want a wine from Tuscany? Immediately, most people are going to assume that you are talking about a super Tuscan style of wine. Now, that's not all that's going to be here. There's going to be a lot of other styles of wine that are going to come out of Tuscany, and there are some absolute banger styles that are in there. One of the most notable here is going to actually be one of the sub-locations within it, and that's going to be Chianti. So you may have heard of Chianti. Chianti Classico. You've definitely heard me say it if you've been here for a little bit, but this is going to be Sangiovese. So this is the main red varietal that you're going to see in Tuscany. Now for the white, it's going to be Vermentino. That's going to be the main white varietal that's typically going to come out of here. Tuscany has a lot of things going on besides this. This is going to be the 4th largest region by area. They have a lot of space to do a lot of really cool things. For basic Sangioveses, you're typically going to get some flavors that are going to be kind of reminiscent of cherry, roasted tomato, sweet balsamic, oregano, and espresso. All of these very unique flavors, and as you again dive deeper, you go into your Chianti Reservas, your Chianti Classicos even, you're going to get some really interesting notes that are going to come out of these wines because they have very strict guidelines that they have to follow in order to put that label on their wine. Labels in regions can be a little confusing. They really don't have to be. When it comes down to it, they're just trying to tell you, hey, it's from this region, so you're probably going to get some notes like blank. And now that you know some of the big players, when you go open a wine menu at a restaurant or at your local winery, you're going to be a little bit more confident about what wine you actually want to pick and what it's going to taste like. Hey, if you made it this far, drop a comment down below letting me know your favorite region for wine or one that you want to explore. But you guys made it to the weekend. Cheers to you, and I will see you on Monday.